the Egyptian efforts to really strengthen and bolster the tourism sector. And joining us here tonight in the studio to shed more light on this file is Dr. Alaa Khalifa, the international tourism and marketing expert. Dr. Khalifa, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure is ours, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our discussion, let's check out this report regarding the tourism sector during the holy month of Ramadan. Let's check it out and we'll be right back.
The holy month of Ramadan turns Egypt into a magnet for visitors from Arab countries. Ramadan begins this year as the Egyptian tourism sector shows signs of strength. Arab tourists prefer to visit Egypt, especially at this time of the year, because Ramadan in Egypt is always different and one of the most appealing destinations. Egyptians prepare for the fasting month weeks ahead. Traders display dozens of types of dried nuts and fruits, turning stands outside their shops into feast for the eye. Children decorate the streets with vivid paper ornaments, including light bulbs and traditional Ramadan lanterns. The centuries-old district near Cairo's downtown, known as Fatimid Cairo, is at the center of nightlife during Ramadan, boasting many cafes that gained fame as meeting places for Egypt's cultural, political, and artistic celebrities. There is a lot to see and enjoy in Egypt when it comes to a spiritual month like Ramadan. Egypt has turned the month of Ramadan into something everybody waits for from year to year.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off our discussion with Dr. Khalifa. Sir, now we are during the holy month of Ramadan. It's a very unique month of the year with its own characteristics, its own flavor, if we may say so. We always used to saying that Egypt is blessed with beach sort of tourism, cultural tourism, religious tourism, medical tourism, and what have you. Now, having the flavor or the characteristics related to the holy month of Ramadan, is it attractive for tourists? Do we get special tourists, international tourists, or tourists from the Gulf and Arabic and Islamic countries? What is the nature of the tourism sector during this month?
Well, there are a number of tourists who prefer to come to Egypt in other months other than Ramadan, and there are a number of tourists based on their behavior and preferences. They like to come into a festive month, whether this month is a Ramadan or any other festive time. And for Ramadan, for us, represents a good month of giving and mercy and how people are coming together. And people will stay up until late hours in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I think Ramadan is also representing a very quiet month for destinations and for tourist attractions, which means it's an excellent opportunity for European travelers to come and enjoy a hassle-free month, mm-hmm. Come and enjoy also a time on their own. And many travelers think that this is a very good opportunity to gain access to a destination in a very moderate prices.
Yes. Well, this month is well known for fasting and also the food. And Egypt is well known for its culinary sort of activities during this month, especially for the desserts in specific. So can we actually use this as some sort of, even in terms of marketing, as some sort of an attraction for tourism, along with other places that are well known during this vibrant month? Khan al-Khalili, Fatimid Cairo, the old Cairo, the souvenirs shops. So are these activities being used as marketing tools to attract tourists?
First of all, culinary tourism is a very important aspect of tourism all over the world, in many countries, especially countries that have a very intense culture. And tasting food and becoming really a type of tourism in itself. It attracts a lot of people. People would like to explore communities, that like to engage with these communities, that like to also learn their traditional ways. It is not only about Cairo. Cairo, we know all the cuisine that has been spread around, especially when it comes to the very special cuisine that appears during the months of Ramadan. But it's also about other cuisines that people like to explore, cuisines that are characteristics of rural areas, cities. Let me give you an example. We are currently working on a project of promoting the city of Esna. And one of the activities that we did with the city of Esna was doing an exploration trip, like an eating food trip, to explore the very special food that Esna has to offer. And we heard of 3 or 4 different types of food. And then, to our surprise, when we did the competition, we brought a lot of local chefs. We found out that there is 21 different recipes of food that we never heard of before. That was like a revelation and discovery for us. So if you take this on a large scale and if you present it to the international traveler, they're going to feel like, wow, I'm overwhelmed.
Yes.
That such a city like city of Esna, with its amazing project, they do like an amazing community development in Esna right now, that not only that you're able to help local people, but you're able to get their talents and show how they present their culinary culture to international travelers. And that attracts a lot of people. For example, go to Aswan. Aswan, they have a very special food in Aswan, which is the Nubian food. And people like the tagines, people like the way how... And when we take travelers to these special Nubian restaurants, they absolutely fall in love with the tagines, with the Nubian tagines. When we bring them to Alexandria, for example, they absolutely fall in love with some certain kind of food in there that Alexandria is very famous with. When we take them to Siwa, they absolutely fall in love with the bread and the way how it's been baked and done.
And the dates.
And the dates and all the different usages. So the diversity of the culinary activities that we have in this country, they're all more I would say, vivid to show the true natural or cultural nature of this country. And I think in Ramadan it becomes very obvious to everyone that everyone is like doing its best to show his local cuisines.
Yes.
I think it's a sort of attraction. I think it should be a very important element in promoting tourism in Egypt. Culinary tourism is a very important asset of a tourism aspect that needs to be very well spot on and promoted. Ramadan, since it's about fasting and breakfasting, and since it's about the art of creating new food and new dishes, and the art of presenting them, the art of having people to discover them, I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to venture into this domain.
Is it also a good opportunity for domestic tourism? Because there are a lot of folkloric activities during Ramadan, obviously the Ramadan tents as well, and it's also a good opportunity to check out the Islamic art and the Islamic museum. And so having these sort of cultural activities and venues, could that be a source of attraction to domestic tourists as well as international tourists?
Absolutely, of course. There is no tourism without domestic tourism. So people think if you depend on international tourism, international tourism is totally, as a type of segment of tourism, is totally unloyal to you. The only loyal tourism to you is domestic tourism. No matter what happens in your country or in your region, domestic tourism always flows to you. They always sustain the economy for you. But we tend to forget that when we get a lot of international tourism, right? However, any activities, whether it's a folkloric activity, a culinary feast, a competition for food, it could be even gathering events, iftar together, suhoor together, all of these different gatherings and networking, all of these different events is a good opportunity to bring people moving from one place to the other, people coming over to share these beautiful moments. And that is the essence of international and local tourism. It's like people move between areas, so they move economies between, they move expenditures from one area to the other. And that is like a steering for the economy. I think Ramadan represents this wonderful opportunity where people gather after at iftar time, the people gather at suhoor time, people communicate more, people have a lot of festive times, and of course, as you mentioned, with all these folkloric shows that were all the different tents that they set up everywhere. Not only this, but also in the way how people are gathering and networking together, talking together, and they think it's a great month for different affiliated groups and companies that they can actually build up like networking with each other. I think Ramadan is a great opportunity, and it's been huge realization and understanding in the Western world right now. What is the benefit of Ramadan? What's the benefit of fasting? And I think people in the tourism industry also understand that this is one of the quietest months for traveling, but it's also a good month for us for the sightseeing tours. Ramadan this year falls into March, which is still part of winter, which is making it like a smooth month for everyone, even for those who fast and those who don't fast. Both Egyptians and Muslims and Christians are fasting during this month as well. They fast each in its own way, which is a wonderful coincidence for both of them. I think Ramadan is one of these festive months that it's always giving us a wonderful, optimistic opportunity to go ahead and meet people and feast with people, as you may say.
Well, during Ramadan, it's also very well known that it is the month for TV drama and TV shows and series and programs. So, I mean, being a marketing expert as well, can we use this as sort of a soft power, using the soft power in order to promote your country, have some sort of a product placement, get them to, or encourage crews and shooting, offering shooting locations, touristic locations, exotic places here in Egypt, in terms of using it to promote Egypt as a touristic destination?
Sure. It's very important to know that media and communication and drama is playing a crucial role in building up the perception. So if you have a perception based on an area where it's repulsive, people would never come to you. If you have a perception that is based on modernism and compassion and humanism and soft touching and loving and drama and a lot of these things, it start to create in the mind an idea of that place that the people wish to go and wish to visit. In the past, people have seen a lot of Turkish dramas, soap operas or dramas, and it created a generation that really wants to go to Turkey, wants to see Turkey, wants to see these ancient palaces. When people talk about Egyptian drama, in the last 30 years, we used to show a very realistic type of drama, which means it's showing every aspect of the community, which is not the right case. And these aspects of the communities, they do exist, but you don't have to show them always in drama. It was a mistake for different countries in the past, but then, like for the US, for example, when they started showing places where a lot of crime rates happening, a lot of shooting happening, and all of this, a lot of that, a lot of people were repulsive of going to the United States because they start building part of that perception that that's not a safe place. The same thing happens here back in the 80s when we started producing these different drama or soap operas. And these different series, we're talking about specific true stories, or we're talking about slums, or talking about narrow alleys in different areas and different habits and thugs and things like that. It didn't give the right image and the right description, and it did devaluate the soft power of this country in giving people the idea that this is the country we're going to visit. However, starting from like the last 15 years, I think there have been a dramatic change in the way how people shifted and showing new compounds into their soap operas. They show new areas, they show clean apartments, they show the real life where people are living. They show the streets, they show the infrastructure, they show everything. They show the ease of access. They don't show the negative things, because negative things are existing everywhere. It's not only existing in one country. But when you focus on them, it becomes the only element that is prevailing on everything, which means it wraps up the entire destination, and it's totally unfair to have people, thinking about that, about your destination. On the other hand, when you show modern, more advanced, more sophisticated, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a drama or an action, people start to realize that this is a destination worth of visiting, this is a culture worth of exploring, and they will start accepting it in a very positive way. So definitely drama, definitely media is playing a very crucial role in forming the perception of the viewer, and also it plays an important core into forming the soft power of any country.
Well, talking about film and TV now, also one of the things another issue that has been raised and still is being raised is about international films getting them to Egypt and shooting in Egypt, and a lot of talk was about the problems or the bureaucracy that they actually face, and then they opt to go to shoot in the United Arab Emirates or in Morocco or Tunisia. Now, using Egypt as a location shoot for international films or TV dramas, is that being now facilitated even more, or are we still facing the same issues? Because everyone now wants films from all over the world to go to their own countries and start shooting there. So are we facilitating the procedures?
We are much better than before. Definitely, we're much better than before. There is not much of complicated bureaucracy. And I call every producer in the world to come and explore this destination. I think the fact that we are able to gain permissions in a much easier way, it's only one committee, it's without a lot of interference from various different jurisdictions, would make it easier for a lot of people to set up sets in the desert or sets somewhere else and some other destinations. However, the competition is intensifying. And it's not only about the countries you've mentioned, it's also every country in the region.
Yes.
Not only in every country in Europe, every country around the world. There's a lot of intensified competition, and that competition comes from the fact that each country has unique things to give. Turkey has unique things to give. Morocco has unique things to give. Egypt has unique things to give. So, but we have a lot of unique things to give, then mixed up together. We have the desert, we have the monuments, we have the history, we have the archaeological sites, we have the mystery for the tombs, and so we have everything on site, on real location, without having to use CGI, which is computer-generated graphics, and without having to use modern technology. However, this also the costing of shooting on site is way much better, than when you are generating it with computers, because you get like a realistic view. However, in the last few years, many films have been taking place, or they did the shooting in Morocco, they did some in Jordan, and they did in United Arab Emirates. And very few documentaries that were done in Egypt and on site, especially speaking about Egyptology or aspects of Egyptology or new discoveries. However, what we need to do, and I think we are in the way to do that, is that we need to make a call out to all those producers and all over the world, and just tell them, hey, look, you can come, do your films here, do your shooting here. We will be giving you all the facilities. We will be giving you all the support. We have the right studios. We have the right logistical companies. We have the right event management companies. We can help you with setting up your sets. We can help you with all of these things. We can give you facilitation. And not only this, we can sponsor you as well. Okay?
Yes.
So if we do that, if we take all of these different steps, I think we'll be able to be a very beacon destination for all the new films and new shootings, especially for the action films. That are talking about areas in the Middle East, that are talking about the desert, or talking about adventures. I think we need to utilize this, especially for Hollywood, Bollywood, or any of these different production, huge, massive production companies. They spend billions of dollars every year.
Yes.
It's an industry, brings a lot of money to any country, crew coming in, people flying in, celebrities coming in, spotlights has been put on these countries, and then the country has been mentioned. Look what the last movie for Mission Impossible, what it did. You know, Tom Cruise did the last movie, Mission Impossible, where? In Abu Dhabi. So 24 minutes of the film has been shooted in Abu Dhabi, in the new airport. You know, how many millions of people have been talking about the new airport? And you know what? The airport itself, the authority of the airport, sponsored part of the film. Sponsored part of the marketing efforts for the film. And the national carrier, the UAE, produced number of trailers about the movie and the shooting and everything. So that kind of exposure, that kind of production and introduction, when they did the announcement for the film, they did the tour in Abu Dhabi. So which means that countries are showing interest and showing support to those who come and choose the destination as a shooting destination. I think if we take that footsteps, if we facilitate it the way far more than we are doing right now, we will become the #1 destination to compete in the region for being the best authentic place for cinema shooting in the future.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of efforts are being exerted by the Egyptian government to bolster a very integral sector, the tourism sector. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
In a significant stride towards bolstering Egypt's tourism sector, the Ras Al Hikma investment project has emerged as a beacon of hope, promising a first-of-its-kind Mediterranean tourist destination and offering a diverse array of attractions and amenities catering to both domestic and international travelers alike. With its strategic location between the vibrant cities of Alexandria and Marsa Matruh, Ras Al Hikma holds immense potential to become a premier tourist destination, offering a blend of sun, sand and sea, along with a mix of recreational and entertainment options. The Ras Al Hikma development project is the creation of a new complete destination in Egypt to be like Sharm el-Sheikh, but on the north coast, to be a premier international tourist destination, adopting the latest cutting-edge digital and technological smart city techniques. The Ras Al Hikma development project is a world-class destination on the Mediterranean with unmatched attractions, including hotels, yacht marinas, and entertainment facilities, as well as a new state-of-the-art international airport to increase the capacity of tourism in the area. Of course, all these aspects will lay a solid foundation to enhance the competitiveness of the Mediterranean region, offering advantages in the Mediterranean. It's worth noting that Ras Al Hikma has the potential to draw in millions of tourists annually, invigorating tourism across the entire North Coast region, as tourists will view it as an opportunity to explore other Egyptian destinations, particularly given the substantial enhancements in road infrastructure and connectivity between areas. No doubt, Mediterranean tourism introduces a fresh dimension to Egypt's tourism portfolio, different from the leisure-focused beach tourism prevalent in the Red Sea resorts. The North Coast stands out for its historical and archaeological significance, coupled with its proximity to other attractions like the Siwa Oasis, Alexandria, Cairo, Giza, and Luxor. This accessibility enables tourists to explore these destinations and appreciate their wealth of historical sites, museums, and other captivating locations.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing our discussion with Dr. Khalifa. Sir, now we are on the verge of the summer season, and yes, we've been talking, I mean, the last time I had you on the show, we were talking about the effects of what's going on in Gaza, obviously affected the tourism sector here in Egypt. But are we now starting to overcome the situation, for instance, nearby? Are people becoming more aware of that Egypt is actually safe for tourism? Are we increasing our bookings? Are we having more bookings for the summer season? What's our season looking like so far?
I want you to know that things never stay the same. Mm-hmm. So when there is a recession, there will always be like times of recovery. So, of course, what's happening next to us is resonating on our industry, is resonating on the tourism in general, in the perception. Mm-hmm. So I think what we are going to be experiencing, which is coming these few months, is that we're going to be experiencing a flux of travelers coming back to Egypt, mm-hmm, and it will be highly demanded. Not only this, but also you have to put in consideration two things as well. You have to put in consideration that the crisis is going to an end. It's never going to be staying for a much longer period of time. I don't think the international community is going to stand witness for much longer, and they have to end it by a way or another. That's one thing. Second thing, I think Egypt is a focal point right now for European Union. And I think if we talk economically, not only from the touristic point of view, if you talk economically, EU realized that North Africa is one of the most important regions to collaborate with. And the only country and the strongest economy in North Africa and the highest and the most potential is Egypt, mm-hmm, at this stage. If you look at any other neighboring country, with all my respect, it's that country that will be able to grab the attention, whether it's industrial, whether it's going to be agricultural, it's going to be anything that the European Union would be depending. They have Egypt as an ally. European Union just 2 weeks ago announced that Egypt is the most important strategic partner, mm-hmm, for the European, yes, Union, which is a big privilege. That means that they will be utilizing industrial zones. They will be setting up factories that have zero or low carbon emissions. They will be depending on sustainable energy projects. They will be utilizing the country by throwing a lot of investment. In order to do so, a lot of European travelers will be flocking to Egypt. There will be open sky policies. Again, we always say in tourism, those who are between 3 to 5 hours away from your destination are more likely to visit you more than anyone else. Mm-hmm. So if you focus on these destinations, people will come to us, and they will come to us big time, and they will appreciate and love this destination. And not to mention that other areas around the world are inaccessible, whether it's due to typhoons or natural disasters or due to wars. So sometimes it's a blessing for other countries and increase the demand. Mm-hmm. I think we'll be in the focal point. I think we're coming back strong. I think for those who are working in the tourism industry, I think you will be able to, your economy will be coming strong. Focus on what you're doing, sell as much as you can, cross-sell as much as you can, and you will be able to get where you want. I think we need to focus on building new rooms. Mm-hmm. We only have 215,000 rooms, and we need to add 200,000 rooms more. Yes. I think we need to encourage people for Airbnb style, apartments, so they can service apartments, so we can increase the capacity that accommodates a lot of travelers. I think also we need to encourage investors and local investors to build up hotels and motels and 2-3-star hotels in their cities. There are cities in Egypt nowadays, especially in the middle of Egypt, that don't have hotels. We need to encourage people to do that. And we need to encourage domestic tourism to these destinations as well. I think I'm very optimistic about what's happening in the future. I'm very optimistic of the exponential change that is happening in the e-tourism, and I think will be the focal. This area, this entire area, not only Egypt, but this entire area is going to be the focal point of it. Look what Saudi Arabia is doing. Look what UAE is doing. All of these different ecological projects that are aiming to attract type of tourism to contribute to the national GDP is an amazing opportunity to replace income, or traditional income, with sustainable income. And I think we are doing that. And I think the amount of progress that we're having in this country is allowing us to receive more and more people. I think we're slowly getting there. I think we're opening up the country for far more large number of travelers coming in. I think we're having a lot of airlines. Look at 5 years ago, a lot of airlines were not even having 1 or 2 lines. Now I see low-cost airlines are opening up to Sphinx Airport, to Cairo Airport, to Burj Al Arab Airport, to so many of these, which means huge capacity, mobility between Egypt and many other countries and destinations, connections, and connections in aviation means more travelers to your destination.
Well, when we talk about increasing the number of rooms or building more hotels, increasing the capacity of the accommodation, is this the responsibility of the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities or the Ministry of Planning? I mean, who actually makes these decisions, and how do we actually encourage local investors to start building their own hotels and offering these, building and establishing eco-lodges in different areas? Whose responsibility is it, and how do we encourage them?
Ministry of Tourism, and I think that there is a misunderstanding. A lot of people think when you have a body for responsible for an industry, that body is able to be or act as an investor. That's not true. Ministry of Tourism is a regulator, and any ministry in any country is a regulator, is a government. The government is a regulator in general. A regulator means you put the rules, you put everything, and you put the incentives, and then you give permissions to people to go through. In order to do so, in order to build 200,000 rooms, you need to attract 2 different types of segmentations or types of target audience. The first one is local investors, and you need to focus on local investors more than international investors. Why? Because local investors, they take the initiative. They are far more courageous than the international investor. Okay, they have the courage. It's the country, they know it very well, right? And but once you give them the right incentive, then they take the initiative. If you don't give them incentive, then they will never take the initiative, because people will look at it from a win-win situation. Why should I waste 500 million pounds, for example, and get in all of these operational debt and burdens for getting nothing at the end, or for being hassled at the end? So local investors are the most important stakeholders that we are, or investors or potential investors that we are supposed to attract, to encourage to build hotels, motels, lodges everywhere across the country. The second segmentation, or the second target audience, would be the international investment. The international investment, the best way for international investment to come and contribute is to do through a joint venture. Okay, and but the worst thing about the international investment, it's a cowardly type of investment, which means that they don't have the courage to take risks. in a destination, especially because of pre-perceived ideas they take about a destination, about how to move funds, from local economies to other countries, or back to their home countries, or back to their investment bodies or financiers. So in this case, I think a mix between local investors, which could be 80%, and 20% of international investors, you'll be able to build those 200,000 rooms only if you give them the right incentives. And the incentives are tax incentives. That's the most important thing, tax incentives, and property incentives, which means land incentives. Okay. In many countries, especially in remote areas, if you want to build a hotel, they give you incentive in granting you the land in a very competitive price, conditioning that you are going to build or invest an amount of money into that area, which you're going to employ people, you're going to... See, hotels, it's a consumption unit. You know what hotels are consuming? They're consuming 30, 40 other industries. Means you need food, vegetables, commodities,
energy,
everything. And any entity that it's been built, the government is getting its taxes from it. But when you give tax incentives at the very beginning, people start to feel relaxed. They start to reincorporate their investment one more time, and then they start to feel at ease. When you start giving incentives like granting lands in a very low prices, especially for those local investors for the purpose of touristic facility, when you start to make the jurisdiction one jurisdiction instead of 7, 8 jurisdiction over the same entity, like for example a hotel right now, you need to have one jurisdiction under the Ministry of Tourism, one regulator, and that's it, because that would also give the peace of mind. You need to have a very special treatment for those who are working in the hospitality industry, because not only that they are helping tourism industry to prosper, but also they contribute seriously to the welfare of any local community. Think of any city around any country, and look how many hotels this city is possessing, and you would know how well that city is doing.
Yes.
If it has less hotels, if it has less facilities, not only tourist attraction, hotels, places of accommodation, because hotels or touristic facilities means consumption. Consumption means cycle tourism, or cycle of economy. And a cycle of economy, or what they call circular economy. Circular economy is the most vital thing for any city to survive, and for any local community to have a well-generated, sustainable source of income.
Well, Dr. Khalifa, now you've started off by mentioning how Egypt is being recognized as a main player or a main partner with the European Union, for instance. Can we use this political weight, the recognition by other countries and other international institutions as a marketing tool, or can we, even if we're talking about being one of the biggest partners or the main partner within the North African region, now whenever people hear this phrase, they always think of trade and cooperation in terms of industry or agriculture or development or any of that, but can we actually use this as a way to strengthen the relationship between Egypt and other countries? For instance, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities would actually say or encourage countries within the European bloc to have some sort of a quota of tourists, or to market Egypt as a destination. Can it be used in a way than the other conventional or traditional ways?
You have to understand something, Hani. It's crucially important that people have to realize this. Tourism relations between countries, cordial relations in regarding to tourism, is being used as a soft power. Like countries, if they like to build up good relationship with other countries, then they start promoting tourism among themselves, okay? If they are not in good terms with one country, they start stopping tourism from flowing in. So it's used as a sanction tool nowadays, and very soft sanction tools, not the hard sanction tool. And that is becoming a trend nowadays. So the more you're building up a very good term between you and other countries, you're not into wars, you're building a commercial relationship, stronger relationship between you or European countries or any other neighboring country, then you know that definitely one of the subsequences would be a flow of tourists coming into that country. It's people start to feel at ease. It's a give and take relationship between other countries. The thing is that sometimes if there is another country would like us to trade things, and we have nothing to trade in, we have nothing to give them. Like we don't have enough tourists to give them, but they do have enough tourists to give us. But in return, we have a commodity, a special commodity that they want us to dedicate or give to them. Then they start coming in a very mutual talk and start telling us, look, we're going to be encouraging our touristic industry to export tourism to your destination, so this will help your destination in return of doing that. So that's basically the relationship that is happening right now. I think, speaking of being optimistic, I think, let me tell you this, and I have mentioned it in various programs before, especially in daily debate, is that because the European Union is applying new laws of carbon emission or zero emission, there is an ambition of to 2050 that the European Union wants to be a zero carbon emission. So the only way to do that was through different regulations. One of these regulations was the regulation of the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism that the European Union have created, which force countries or exporting commodities to the European Union is to show a life cycle of these components and show them what kind of carbon emission that these components or these products have caused in the community. This affected nearly 20 countries that are biggest exporters of the European Union, and including Egypt. It affected Egypt, and we are right now, a lot of Egyptian exporters are trying to comply and do compliance to meet the European Union regulations. But the thing is, one of the conditions that the European Union is doing is that they want to know how much emissions have been exhausted or have been calculated for a specific product during its transportation cycle. Which means if you have India or China or Brazil or any of these countries exporting things to the European Union, exact same product, if it's being exported from Egypt, it will be preferred from Egypt than these countries. Why? Because the carbon emissions and transportation from all these faraway destinations will make it as a burden over the commodity itself. Which will impact 20 to 30% of carbon tax. Or will get those big countries to adjust, lower their carbon footprint, or they will have to buy what they call carbon credit nowadays, okay, in order to get their commodities inside the European Union. Or what is happening today is that these countries will start to think differently. Okay, why should we build these commodities in our own homeland? Why don't we go to the Egyptian North Coast or Egyptian new Suez Canal economical zone and build up factories into Egypt? It's so close in a proximity to the European Union. The carbon footprint for these products will be far less than we created in our own country because their carbon footprint is higher.
Yes.
So a lot of countries are thinking about this. It's like, hey, why don't we build up countries, build up factories, that are producing these products? It's still ours. It's still, and then we can export it to the European Union directly. And a lot of big companies in the world did this in Egypt lately, especially in a lot of industrial zones, in Ain Sokhna, in Damietta, new socio-economical area. So this will get you to be the focal point.
Yes.
So any regulations that is happening nowadays, especially for those who are affecting the climate change, COP27, COP28, a lot of decisions that have been seriously taken by different countries to lower the footprint, the carbon footprint, would allow people to, and imposing taxes on carbon, and then the people would come in and we just say, hey, we want this destination, it's the only closer destination to European Union, we can get our products into European Union, otherwise those importers will never take anything from us because they will be subject to a lot of carbon tax. Anyway, this is just an insight into the future, and I'm telling you this, guess all of this, where is it going to go to? What is the reflection of all of this? A lot of travelers, a lot of people, a lot of coming people to visit, a lot of thousands of people coming to administer that and just supervise that. We will be, and take my word on this, we will be the focal point for the next 10 years with the European Union.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully so, and we are being optimistic, and hopefully we are heading or starting the recovery stage and the recovery phase for the tourism sector, and maybe as well having the sustainability and being environmentally sustainable would be a new angle to start our marketing strategy for the tourism sector.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate, but before we go, I'd like to thank Dr. Alaa Khalifa, the international tourism and marketing expert. Dr. Khalifa, always a pleasure having you with us on the show.
It's always a pleasure having you. And
thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, dear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.